Thank you very much, Ian, for inviting me to be here today. I really appreciate it. And really what I want to talk about is not so much my insights, but the insights of this movement I'm part of. So the E3A has 400,000 people that are part of it from all over the United Kingdom, from islands to urban to rural, and if you Google the E3A, you'll probably find one near where you live. We have many people who have done all kinds of things throughout their lives with many views, challenges, and there's certainly a whole lot of discussion. They're very engaged, and the membership are absolutely brilliant at contributing their views. So we already have a community of people who are already doing really interesting things when they've retired from full-time work, and without a doubt support each other. So what I wanted to start off with is what we know. So what we already know from the World Health Organization is that we need to do a lot of work around moving assumptions about age being a number, and to look beyond that and to see the people behind the age. And we need to get rid of all the stereotyping with people getting older as being frail, burdensome and dependent, because that is certainly not the case. And we need to ensure that people's lived experience is used and we release the potential in people and allow that to be shared to make and build new ideas and new ways of living. So to make real progress happen, we need to take away that ageism lens, which I think a lot of people who have the ability to make important decisions may still have, perhaps without even knowing it, in some shape or size. To take that away and to really see people as they are. So in 2019, we ran a survey on attitude. Sorry, in 2021, in fact, we ran a survey on attitudes to people as they age, and we ran that with an external organisation, and we included people in the E3A and we included people outside the E3A. Naturally, people within inside the E3A and actually without feel that someone's perception and who they are doesn't change just because you hit a certain milestone age. So it doesn't change because you hit 60 or 70 or 80. You ask the average person who is over the age of 60 who an older person is, and I can guarantee you it won't be them. It'll be someone else. And like everybody else, as we age, we want to buy products and services because we need them, because we want them, not because we need them. And we want people to be seen of all ages as consumers and not as service users. So the key part of the conversation that has been missing, and I'm really glad to hear that engagement stream that has run through the presentation so far, is that people needed to be treated and viewed in that way as consumers. And if people want a housing service, they'll want a housing service or product or place to live that they actually want to use, and not something that has got a label that might say older attached to it. So the products and services need to be desirable as well as useful. And I believe certainly from the conversations we've already heard today that is very much on people in the room's agenda, but it is an agenda that we need to take further. There are a lot of housing pivots in our lives, those times when we begin to change where we want to live, begin to think about where we want to be. And that could be triggered by all kinds of things. It might be because we've reached a time when the house we live in is, or the flat we live in, or the place we live in doesn't suit our needs anymore. We might have had a major impact on our life, like bereavement or a change in health. We might want to move closer to our family. Or we might be facing all kinds of issues around money, particularly as you move into retirement, and can we afford to live where we want to live? But very much one size does not fit all. And at this moment in time, I want to pay tribute to the Future Lives group of the U3A, who've run a housing survey on the membership to gather the views on housing and future lives. And thanks to them, we have over 5,000 completed questionnaires, which they have pulled together and begun to analyse. And what I would say in relation to those is the majority of those were from London and the South East. They were spread across the United Kingdom, but the majority were from the London and the South East. So it has got that slight focus on it. Of the people we asked, many people had already moved and many had downsized, but over 50% were going to stay in their own home. Of those, 28% wanted to make changes to their home, and 85% wanted to remain in the current household, in other words, the people that they were currently living with. 68% wanted to stay local. 75% wanted to stay in a community that was, in other words, with people around them that were multi-generational. So 75% in a multi-generational setting, and only 25% wanted to live in a community focusing on older people. And only 20% wanted a retirement housing scheme. So the vast majority of people, as has been said earlier, wanted to stay in their own home. The key areas changes people talked about were making changes to make living in that home easier. It might have been a lift or a tower or shower room. But many people felt access to a garden was really, really important to them. So those are some of the findings that we've had from this survey, which really demonstrates the fact that was said earlier, people want to stay where they are with people they know in the communities that they love with access to outside space. People also wanted to look at other options. They wanted to know more about other options. For example, housing cooperatives, renting, buying, and the ease of moving, whether it's urban or rural. They wanted information about that, but it wasn't featuring necessarily that highly in their current choices. In terms of barriers, people have talked about the number of places to move, the number of units, the number of housing, what is available locally, what can people aspire to, what can people access. In particular, the importance of transportation and communication. So we talked about earlier that 15-minute city, being able to walk to where you want to go or ride to where you want to go, but also to be able to use public transport. And of course, in some parts of the UK, public transport is fantastic. In others, it really isn't. And that really does affect people's ability to stay where they want to be, because they do need to access not only services, but also each other and being together. And then, of course, the cost. How do you manage that cost of move, and how do you manage the cost of moving to a different kind of unit, and whether it's renting or buying. And indeed, I know there have been people that have faced, particularly in the rented sector, faced huge problems in terms of finding a deposit to move from one unit to another. So there are barriers, and we're aware of those, and it's really important to be able to address those to enable people to move fluidly. So in terms of making change happen, I think we feel very strongly that the first step in developing any kind of future accommodation is to ask your audience, know your customer, ask the people who are going to live there, ask U3A members, they really will tell you all about it, and get older adults involved in making and designing the future. They know what they want and they know what they'll use. So actually speaking to people as part of that journey, to older adults as part of that journey, will help you design exactly what people want. The U3A knows the value of communities of interest, certainly through coming together as a massive movement to do things of interest to them, to learn and follow their hobbies, pursue interests, get involved in their local communities. The U3A is very much a live example of that, and they're certainly aspirational in every aspect of what they do. I just want to finish off by saying what is really important is that we do need this change to happen, that we need to be future visioned and not tunnel visioned. In other words, look to the future, build to last, take that long-term approach, engage with real people. And if you do have a plan for the future, we should stick to it and we should see it through. The standard for smart multi-general neighbourhoods is really important. This ISO standard is really important. It will ensure that people can be confident, no matter what their age and where they are in life's journey, of a good place to live that gives them that community, technology, and the place they want to be day to day. Thank you very much for letting me contribute today.
Thank you, Sam. And U3A is really important. I mean, people have been giving personal stories. My own, very briefly, is after my mum passed, my dad, who was at that point late 80s, I guess, had a gap in his life because he'd been caring for her for 6 years, and he found the local U3A in Shoreham in Sussex, and he discovered a group there that was focused on archaeology, and he loved it, and it gave him additional purpose. And I saw the Third Lives Matter magazine there, and I said, you know, this is really interesting, and it coincides with what we're thinking about. And it took me quite some time to get through and get hold of Sam to understand more. And I was thrilled to be interviewed for that magazine this summer. And I was thinking, and neither my dad or my mum around, but you know, I would have shown them that. That was a special moment for me personally.